Welcome to this week's episode of What is the Artist Thinking? This is Inkology and my name is Josh. And today we're just going to be reviewing and critiquing the failures and successes of my art.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
And this is Quetzalcoatl, my recent drawing last week. All right, now let's begin. Now, first things first, I wasn't sure if I was going to draw him in his feathered serpent form, which would be cool, but then do you know how many scales and feathers I would have to draw? There's not enough time for all that. So I was like, you know what? It'd be cooler if I had a man playing the character in a ritual, like seeing his emotions and what he's going through and him planning to leave that door and put on this mask. How cool, right? Now, the light source is coming from the right, and I wanted to have this kind of look where the light was hitting him and mostly putting him into the shadow, but I also wanted to create all these details. So I started drawing all these details, not realizing that if there was this much shadow, there's probably that much white, and I don't have to put that much detail on the bright spots like of this, glorified toilet. I tried to make a throne chair, didn't work out. Sorry, guys. But then I thought, is this enough? Is just his character sitting here looking out this imaginary door enough and the shadow, being this way? I don't know. Who cares? I'm going to start inking. Now, as I start inking, I start messing up right away. I outline the image, which is fine, the parts. This is his foot, but then I start making these strokes that are vertical. In my best practice, I would be doing horizontal strokes, or at least the form, contouring around what the foot would be. This way, when it dries, this ink is a first layer. When it dries, you'll have some form already built into it. It's kind of a almost like a subliminal darkness of shadow and shading. But then I made the mistake, of course, of going vertical. Vertical works best for going up the wall. On the floor, it's going to be horizontal, like it should be with the leg and these feathers for the most part. I mean, it works out for the feathers because I'm actually making these brush strokes in this fashion. That's a helpful tip, right? Yeah, go in the direction of, whatever form of the object it is. I start to fill in his upper torso and leaving his arm kind of blank because I was going to add some detail there for light to hit it. And then I got a little bit more lazy. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to just paint this all in black and hope that it translates and that this is his arm there.
Do you realize what you've done?
And as you can see, his arm pretty much disappears. Whoops. I move lower to the bottom part of his attire, going towards his boots, and I make the mistake again of doing vertical lines when the throne that he's sitting on, you can see has horizontal lines going across it, little platforms like a pagoda, and I should be following those lines instead of doing vertical strokes like I am here. This is a bad habit. When I start to outline things, I just follow that line path. Now this works because I'm going up the wall and it actually will look like shadows going up a wall. Okay, I know that was all redundant, but it's important. And cross-hatching here, as I'm doing, I start to cross-hatch more detail into his darker side, hoping to break into a more of a white and negative space on his face. But because I get lost in drawing details and I start to zone out, I started adding, wrinkles where they shouldn't be, cross-hatching where I just want it to be. And then I have to suffer the consequences of going, how am I going to fix this? And that's what we're doing here. This actually worked out fine, this part you're seeing, but then later on you'll see it's a mess. Again, I go back to wanting to create cracks in this thing to make it look like stone instead of just allowing the viewer to pick up the idea that it is probably stone and using more negative space. That was that issue. Now I'm going back to this dry layer of ink, and you can see that it's not fully black, and I can do a second layer. And this is really cool because it'll allow me to build that form again with a heavier black as the darkest shadow. And you can see how it works here where I'm drawing these horizontal lines now across the vertical, and when they dry they're going to be a darker black, and you can tell that it's brick. The effect isn't fully there. It's there, you can see it, but in order to make it really work, you need to add white little spots on the edges of the each brick and stuff made stone. That'll give the illusion of a three-dimensional object, and you'll see what I do shortly. When I'm preparing for a big move on the page that I feel like I can't take back, I'll kind of like settle my nerves a little bit by taking less risk and drawing a part of the page like this right here, the middle of the bricks. Then I can kind of imagine what an all black right side would look like. I got this drawing gum. This is actually my first time using this, very first. But I get the idea. I saw some of the YouTube people do it, and I'm like, hey, I get it. So I'm like dabbing little stars, different sizes, hoping my hand doesn't smear it or touch it. I don't know how long it's gonna take to dry or whatever. But anyways, I'm going for it. And I made a shooting star and a little galaxy and stuff. Then I started drawing over it with this brush pen, which is fine. I did the strokes at an angle, right? And the reason why I did an angle is because the wall that I built here is at an angle. And like I said before, I have a tendency to just follow lines that I draw. But we'll have to come back to when I rub this gum off and show you what the real issue is. But I had another issue where I drew the foot and realized that I don't even see the foot, and who knows if there's a foot even there, or the leg is there. So I went out with some white Posca paint markers, and I'm just kind of brushing in a light layer on top of the ink for his toes to be. I forgot his sandal. Oh my gosh. Just now realizing that right now. How awesome is that? Anyways, the white Posca helped a lot. Now that I'm rubbing off this drawing gum, I'm like, great, this stuff comes off wonderfully and it looks amazing. But I'm also realizing, hey, is this getting lighter? Am I rubbing off the ink? And sure enough, I am. Which in the end benefits because it actually gives a little bit of effect of the darkness going into light, which it should be the other way around, but it still looks cool. Now I'm putting in the details, and I realize I don't want it to just be black and white. I want to try out these things. I got these at a Comic-Con, and I needed a reason to use them. So I started doing a pattern, like they painted these, Aztec patterns on the wall. The design turned out looking cool, but I ended up going overboard with too much gray everywhere and had to just color the whole wall gray. So I noticed that I needed to use this white Posca marker while I still had it out. I began to dig into the shadow, bringing a more realistic brick or stones on the wall. Now I'm going to just use the marker to make the shadow look more gray and darker. I think it brings more depth, and it did work out in the end for the final drawing, but it was a risk. I was very confused if I was going to do it or not. Anyways, if you enjoyed this critique of my own work, please, hey, like and subscribe to my channel. I like roasting my own stuff, but also helping out artists wanting to learn and grow. Thank you for watching, and if you're creative, hey, go create.